And welcome everybody to the season finale Spoilercast. Is it season? I'm going to call it season because they're kind of talking about season 2, and I find that very sus.
Will not confirm or deny that.
Give me more Kennedy. I want more Kenobi. So yeah, as always, I'm Mitch. You can follow me on Twitter at 692tweets, and of course, I'm joined by Sean.
Yeah, you can join me at MarvelTheMartian_12 on Instagram.
And it wouldn't be a finale of these Disney Plus shows for either Marvel or Star Wars without Jared from the Nerd Academy podcast.
Hello there is what I'm supposed to say, I guess. Seems apropos. This is the best Disney Plus show by a mile, and the fact that I'm starting with that, I'm only going up from here in praise.
Now, is that including literally everything or just Star Wars?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
I might have to agree, to be honest. I think it's definitely my favorite Star Wars anything.
It's been my favorite Star Wars, for sure.
I think it's the best Star Wars show. My voice is probably going crazy here. It's my favorite Star Wars show, and I think it is my favorite show on Disney Plus. Period. I think this is, my big hot thing that everybody always freaks out of is that my favorite Star Wars movie is The Last Jedi, and this has so much in common with The Last Jedi. If I were to try to describe this show to somebody, I would honestly say it's like The Last Jedi, Force Unleashed, and John Jackson Miller's Kenobi had a baby, like a really, really beautiful baby. It's this show. This is Star Wars storytelling at its zenith, and I love it. I absolutely love it. This is what Star Wars is, and it's on a molecular level. This.
So that's midi-chlorians, is what you're saying.
I wish you were in this conversation I had a couple days ago with a eager OG Star Wars fan who called this trash, and I wish you were.
I've seen a couple of people like that, and I really don't understand any of it.
I understand completely, and I'm gonna get flack for this for sure. I think it's got me in trouble but I'm gonna say it. I think the OG fans need to get past. I can't get past anything past the Lucas thing.
You're right.
And the problem, that's the problem, is like they can't let go of the past and embrace whatever's coming. So they're gonna initially hate it regardless of how good it is. Or I had the conversation. The guy said the cinematography was trash. I was like, no.
I've seen a lot of that. I've seen that quite even from people that like the show, and part of me, I don't want to say it's trash because I don't agree with it in the slightest. I understand a complaint about it because I think this show, if anything, out of all of them, is starting to really show the limitations of the volume.
I mean, they're always going to push push that technology to the point.
Oh yeah. They're obviously going to push it forward, but I just think right now that this one specifically.
And those
really
discussions
showed.
have been made. And those discussions were made behind the scenes too, but you have to find what the limitations are to see
exactly. That's why I haven't got a problem with it, right? It's just like I get how they're gonna go about it, but you have to reach that limit to understand that limit first.
Yeah.
But I think this show was like right now. This is the limit of this show just hard stopped what you can do with that. Not what you can do with it as a whole, but it really showed personally.
Yeah, and I will 100% defend this show regardless of what people say about it, because Deborah Chow's a national treasure.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
And it's just sad. It's sad to see here quote unquote fans of this property just trash on things because it's not what they want or they think is gonna happen, and you see in the other genres like Marvel, DC, and whatever, but it's pretty bad in the Star Wars camp, and that's just the problem. They just can't get past and who's to say if Lucas was involved, some of this stuff would never happen. You wouldn't have seen this. You would have seen this as a movie, and I think that would have been a huge mistake that made this show a movie, because I think the show allows it to breathe and nuts. There really wasn't times where it was like kind of like I'm gonna go do my laundry while this show is playing. You know, I'm 100% glued to the TV.
Maybe the episode on the castle in the Inquisitor place, maybe. But even then, it's not bad.
But,
right?
I could not disagree with that more. I like this whole show. Like it every. I mean, I also first of all with the volume conversation, I do want to say, you know, Star Wars ever since its inception, ever since the 70s, and then in say what you will about the prequel trilogy, even then, it has pushed the envelope. No matter what, Star Wars exists to revolutionize the technology of filmmaking.
Well, isn't that the whole point of him making Star Wars is to push the to push the envelope of how movies are made? You know, so like that's baked into the DNA of this property. You know, but you know to call it trash is kind of like that's just
to call it trash is dumb. It is 100% dumb.
It's ignorant.
It is ignorant to say that it's trash because I can see what is a special effect is one of those moments you're like, okay, so you're not talking about the cinematography in the first place.
Yeah. But even then, like visual effects are cinematography, though.
Yeah,
you're right. You're right, but I mean to say like I can see the volume, therefore this is shot like hell. That does
it's a dumb take, yeah. You know, like even me saying like you can see the limitation of it isn't me saying it's bad.
Oh yeah.
No, you're
just this show like look genuinely. I think it looks really good. I love how the show looked, but you can just start to see the seams a little bit.
But it's like it's the conversation behind the scenes are also we see where this could be better, and like you know, and it's just like you don't know what you can do until you know what you can do in the present. You know, I don't know, maybe that doesn't make any sense.
You gotta like try it to know you can do it, right?
Yeah.
Or to know you can't do something, you have to actually do it first.
And I'm not saying I will never talk about the show as a sacrificial lamb for that. You know, it's just like that's just the nature of the beast. You know, like we see, you know, and it wasn't like looking at the show. It's like you can't see like green bleeding to the screen or anything like that. It's just, you know, it's just there's a little disconnect when it comes to like Uncanny Valley, you know. But you know, that's it. You know,
I wouldn't even say it's an Uncanny Valley. It's just you can notice the lack of like wide shots and everything.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing for me. It's just like there's not a single wide shot in this show. If there is, I've forgotten it, and I'll take it back if someone points it out. But
the acting is like on par with any movie you can do. You know, like you know, Ewan McGregor is Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he loves the character, and you can tell he loves the character. Hayden Christensen, for what he did good. I think he. I think he was walking into this as like, I need a redemption for the character that was in the prequels, you know, and I think he pulled it off. I think the redemption was there, you know. He played Darth Vader as a petulant kid, you know, like that. He still was in that phase of his life, you know.
You know, as the resident Darth Vader stan, I love the handling of his character in this, because at once you get, you know, the Vader that we all know, the cold, brutal, vicious tactician. But I love that it's when Obi-Wan is in the mix, is when
it's a personal.
He slides back into some of those older tendencies. And, you know, I don't. I'm one of the people who understand, you know, like with like the reformed prequelist position, which is a term I love, which is one that definitely applies to me, because I love the prequel trilogy.
You've lost you, Jared.
Yeah. It went quiet again.
Just slowly faded out like dust in the wind.
Yeah.
Slowly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Maybe to continue what he was saying. I think he, like, he played the character. Like, look, when he seen Kenobi, he took everything. His calm, cool demeanor went away. because it was so personal, you know, and you could tell it was personal. You know, he just lost all logic. He's like, I don't care. I want him. You know, I think he played it perfectly.
Yeah, and he didn't. It wasn't. There you go.
Cool. Yeah, no, Sean, you're right. I love that about the character, and you know, I understand why people don't love Hayden's performance. I also don't think it's Hayden's fault. I think that
I don't blame Hayden.
Actor's director.
It's the director.
Yeah, and I think Hayden needed better direction. I think Deborah Chow did that for him, and you know, I always get hesitant, and I know obviously this isn't what you mean by that, Sean. I always get hesitant about like the whole like, oh, this is like his shot at redemption, because
he's faking it.
Yeah, you got out, Jared.
You blinked out of existence for a minute.
I fucking.
I'm glad it's someone else besides me this time that's doing this.
So it seems to be a thing with you two. You can't get a connection going at the same time.
Yeah.
Which is weird because you're closer to each other than you are to me. But... I mean, you're 3 hours away from him. I'm 5 hours away from him.
Am I back?
No. He's in Pennsylvania, right? I'm in California.
Yeah, I'm in PA, which is a lot farther than 3 hours.
No, it's the time zone difference I'm talking about.
Okay.
Gotta be more specific. I was like, I don't know, man. California's
the time zone difference. You even like with that, you are still closer towards each other than I am to either of us.
That's true.
The way you said that, it was so funny. I thought you were like.
I thought you
time country part. Also, no.
You could go from one side of America to the other in 3 hours.
It's not like
no,
you can. I bet you can.
If you're the Flash, man.
Get some decent, like, non-American built engineering stuff, and you could do it.
On a plane, sure.
Well, there you go. Exactly, a plane. You can do it. It's fine.
We can podcast from a plane next time. We closer.
I assume it's got decent Wi-Fi on a plane, though.
That's true.
I've business class in like 15 years, in fairness, so I don't know what plane Wi-Fi is like.
Business class is good.
Can you all still hear me?
I can. Yes.
You can?
Yeah. You can. Mm-hmm.
Good.
You can.
Okay. Hopefully that stops happening. I think. Sorry about that.
I mean,
Skype,
if it does keeps doing it, we can always go and do the Streamlabsing again. And I'll just Frankenstein the crap out of the audio.
I don't want to make you have to do that. Hopefully we can avoid it. But yeah, no, I like to avoid the redemption thing because I feel like there's a little bit of like a, hate had it coming kind of thing with like all the weird harassment. But that's just because I've gone through the sequel of Star Wars on Twitter.
That's the fans saying it. Those fans are toxic. And I'm not opposed to saying that the Star Wars fan. I don't care. Like they are they are mostly toxic, and that's what you ask Jake Lloyd about this,
Exactly.
You ask anybody that they think have ruined their characters that they have loved and built and stuff like that. It's like, no, one, these characters are not yours. You paid for the ticket, but you are not ownership of these characters. And two, like you gotta they put so much blame on the actors. It's the director. The director gives them the direction to go in, so nobody gives George Lucas the hate that they give the actors, and I think that's a little
I don't know. Lucas got a bit of hate in the 2000s.
Yeah, but like he's been earning, quote unquote, earning his halo. Nobody can say anything bad about George Lucas, without the wrath of the fans, so.
Yeah, and I think there's something to that. The prequel renaissance is a double-edged sword, because on one hand you have people who have learned to enjoy the prequels for what they are, to enjoy them as like a pulpy kind of silly, like it is the Lucasinian maximalism that is just so hard to take in at first glance, coming off of the original trilogy, and that's good. I'm glad that people can have like rational conversations about it. the prequel trilogy without it devolving into the people versus George Lucas. You know,
Yeah.
the problem with that is that you have people my age who are doing the same thing the old heads did about the prequels, where
It's because
everything
they inherited the craziness from their families. That's why.
they've inherited it, and it does not. And I think a part of it is that we traded. You know, things were good when a man was in charge of Lucasfilm.
Yeah. That's.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. You see the hate that Kathleen Kennedy gets. You can see that.
And that
You know.
she
Yeah, it's done it again, Jared.
You're back into the void. I can see the man versus woman, that little, quote unquote discussion. I don't know. I think Lucas has more blame, if not 50% of the blame, for how those prequels came out, and and then I don't know. It's just it's craziness, man. It's mad weary. Yeah.
Mad weary is a very good thing for very good term for
Yeah. But I mean, you see the fan base, man, and it's hard to have actual discussion, even critiquing, those prequels without incurring the wrath of these people. And it's like, I mean, I kind of endured it last year, with the name I should not name, but like I said something negative about the fan base, and next thing like getting hate mail and stuff like that. It's like, that's childish, and it's like, man, like you gotta realize these are movies. These are not real life.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think another thing with the fandom, and like as much as I talk about the ass end of this fandom, it is the minority. It is a very, very, very vocal minority of literal sociopaths.
Trolls.
Yeah, and like the fandom menace is a cancer on fandom culture in general. And I love what this show has to offer, and it's because that it takes chances, and it is not just like it's the thing that I love about this show is that it does everything it can to avoid being like the weird like Obi-Wan Invader slideshow that a lot of fans clearly wanted it to be. A lot of fans clearly wanted this to just be 6 straight episodes of Obi-Wan and Anakin just going, something, something, I loved you, Anakin, something, something, master, you failed me, something it's like everybody just wanted this like fucking this fan film dialogue for like 6 episodes straight and just a 6-episode long lightsaber duel. And that's not what we should have gotten. And I love the story that we got. It is a beautiful story. It's Obi-Wan's Last Jedi, and it's perfect. I love it.
It's like a cat and mouse, scenario where, like he's always one step behind Obi-Wan Kenobi, and like there was only 2 confrontations in the whole series, and it was perfect. You don't need that much. You don't need these 2 people in the room all the time for 6 hours, or whatever, And I think that would have, been bad, like terrible, if that was the case. I like, you get to.
With this conversation, thinking about it, I'd like to see Deborah Chow take a crack at that. What would her version of the show would have been? The 6 hours of those 2. What would that have looked like?
It'd be. I don't even think anybody could have made that good. I'm sorry, like I
bet she could have a good fair crack.
Oh yeah, she's I mean, she's gonna be sticking around for a long time. So I think that people hate this show. Then you might want to maybe find another thing to watch, because she's gonna be.
But if they find something else to watch, how are they gonna get all the hate clicks and the hate money on YouTube?
They can watch politics. That gives you enough. It's actually just hate, so, but like, it's just, I think this kind of redeems the Boba Fett, series in a way, because it's like, like everyone, you have a lot of redemption. I don't know.
A Book of Boba Fett season 2 could redeem that first season, maybe, or even Mando season 3, depending how that goes, maybe. This one, so far removed from old Bubba.
Yeah, and rightly so. Like no reason
I just
for
see
him to
the
be
Book of
around.
Boba Fett to me is just an unfortunate, like, you know when you walk and you kick a little stone and you stumble slightly. That's all that was. Everything
Yeah.
else is still great. Like it's just a slight little there's an uneven bit of ground here. That's all. It's fine.
I
It's not. It's
think
not
mean,
that's
horrendous.
fair. I think that's fair. I'm more forgiving on Book of Boba Fett than you guys are, but I get that criticism.
No,
I say I
love
like the show. It's just it after the 2 seasons of Mando and now especially this one. It's like yeah, that one needed like 6 minutes in the oven or something. No.
Yeah.
Well,
No, that's
I
fair.
think the Book of Boba Fett was an interesting um, idea.
Yeah, I love it on paper.
Yeah,
Love it
and
on
I think
paper.
I think I agree. As a fan, not as an employee, I agree that it could have been beneficial to have it a little bit more. A little bit more time in the oven to bake a little bit longer because it came out
Yeah.
kind of soft in the inside. But
A bit like old Tem, a bit soft on the inside, like he's all squidgy.
it's like a nice chocolate souffle in the middle.
It
Crunchy on
gave
the
me a
outside.
baby rancor. I'm not even going to complain about that show anymore.
He was. I mean, yeah. I mean, if anything, the ending gave you exactly what you wanted.
Exactly. I was begging for it for 5 weeks. It gave it to me.
5 weeks.
Yeah.
It did deliver on something for you.
But speaking of delivering, this show, goddamn, there was part of me that was like, just don't stumble the ending. Like, please, it's been
Flawless.
consistently
Flawless
good
ending.
the entire time,
Flawless
and that ending nailed the hell out of it.
I
I could have just had that ending as just the whole thing. Just that last episode could have been like a little special. So hey, we did an Obi-Wan special episode, like, and I would have been perfectly fine with that. But we had the added context, everything else, and it's just I adore this show.
Yeah, I love the last battle between Anakin and just the conversation. It's like exactly the conversation I expected them to have. It's like he.
And watching Obi-Wan walk away from him again, like, that's got a sting.
Well, I think in he the whole season or series, it was Obi-Wan running away. Running away from the past, and and he looked like scared of confronting Anakin. And like when he finally did do that, I think he let go. He let all that guilt go, let everything go, and just like that's nothing. There's nothing he could have done to save him. He was already on that path of becoming Vader. So it was like, I think in that moment he realized, yeah, there's nothing I could have done to help him. He was,
yeah, especially in that whole line of I killed Anakin. You didn't. It was me. It's like, okay, right.
But I love this whole season. I love the whole season of how McGregor just portrayed Obi-Wan as like a guilt-stricken. I'm in self-exile, because I think I did this to my best friend,
Yeah,
brother,
so I'm the reason this galaxy is like it is right now. Like, that's a lot of weight to have on your shoulders.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the series, he just let it go. He realized like this is not my fault.
Yeah, because he's now dressing like Gold McGuinness. Like, he's got his little rose back on. He's open carrying the saber now, which is kind of a brave move. But
I think a lot of people are also forgetting Joel Edgerton too. I think Joel Edgerton, was kind of like, for what little he had to do in the series, it gave so much backstory to the character.
He gives a really understated performance.
And you see it, you get to see a character that is such a peripheral character in the original trilogy, and he gives so much depth to the character, and like we see why he's so grumpy and like gruff and stuff like that. Even at the end of the series where like Obi-Wan basically saves him, and he's still kind of like, why are you here? But he finally came around. But yeah, I think he
well, you say come around, and then you hope he's still kind of like, oh, it's Ben. Like, just don't worry about Ben. Like, he's over there.
Well, that's what I really like about this, is that like there's
plus
he raised
the Jedi. He raised the Jedi Knight too. So
I mean, the thing that I love about like his metamorphosis throughout this show is that like the thing that we arrive at with him is that like he can't go back to just being Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No.
You know,
No.
like that ship has sailed. You
He's
know,
Ben
but like yeah, exactly. But there's a way to land on Ben that is not like you damned the galaxy to the Empire. And I really, really do love that. And I love the way that like, you know, there could have been a very hammy and like, you know, written by Reddit way of handling his trauma with Anakin.
Yeah.
That could have just been that could have been like the entirety of the I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry, Anakin conversation. But like cranked up to 30 for the whole show. And I think you would have burned the emotional capacity of your audience out very quickly doing that. And I really am just I just love every decision that was made here. And
well,
you know yeah, Sean.
oh no, I was gonna say like I know Ewan McGregor had a lot to say about how Obi-Wan was portrayed in the series. He had a lot. He's executive producer in the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, he is. It's like he's almost the Iron Man. You know, Robert Downey Jr. of this. You know, of the Star Wars universe. Like he embodies what the character is, and he loves the character. So I know that they used him. They allowed him more leeway to portray the character how he wanted or how he thought the character would have been portrayed. You know, and I think that was probably the best idea to do. You know, because like he knows the character. But yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say no, but with that, like this is one of those things that like again, Star Wars is like poetry. It rhymes. I love I love all of the little callbacks to things, and like I said earlier, this is Obi-Wan's last Jedi, you know, and I think that it's really beautiful getting to see both he and Luke had like the way that they carry the weight of I inadvertently kind of helped create like this monster. And how do I square myself and square my conscience with all of that? And it's nice seeing the conclusion Obi-Wan reaches, and I love the way that like Vader accidentally absolves him of his guilt. You know, I truly think that you know I love the combination of the I am what you made me in episode 3 with you know you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did, I'm not
I killed it.
yeah, like all when you take that in totality, you know what he's saying is like, you helped make me a killing machine. You put me in this suit, and because you weren't able to finish the job, you made me practically unkillable.
Yeah,
and that's on you. But I am not your failure. I am the pinnacle of what you could create. I chose this, and like, and it's weird because like he's right. He's not entirely wrong. Like Obi-Wan did create Darth Vader. He helped make him a killing machine, but those are decisions Anakin made.
Yeah,
he
was a grown up. He made his own decisions. He wanted this. Obi-Wan didn't hold a lightsaber to his head and say you need to do this. He did this on his own.
Yeah.
Whether it be by manipulation or not, he still made those decisions.
Exactly. And I think that and like you said, he was not held at lightsaber point. This is not a Reva situation where it's like you had no choice in the matter. You were thrown into a horrible situation where your options were die or join, and you were a child. Like it's so incredible. And again, Moses Ingram's performance and the way that Reva and Anakin are like these two like opposite sides of a scale for Obi-Wan, where he gets to square I couldn't save Anakin. Anakin was too far gone for me. I can help you. And I so hope we see more of Reva. She is such a cool character. It's a running joke with all the teen app stuff and even the podcast we did before that when it comes to characters in fiction, I have a type, and Reva is that type. I love me a dark anti-hero fallen Jedi archetype, and I cannot wait to see where she goes next. I truly hope we get to see it. And I don't care what medium, but I really hope it involves Moses Ingram.
Yeah. I mean, she's a
I
tragic
wouldn't mind
character.
seeing more of her. I kind of like where they left her off, and interested to see where.
She will be back. She will be back. Yeah.
Obi-Wan season 2.
But like, I think she's the most tragic character of the show.
Yeah.
Because it's like, Obi-Wan made decisions to lead him to this point, but like her, like you said, she was forced into this. It's almost kind of I feel like it's kind of an analogy for certain things where, like she had no choice either. Well, she had a choice. It's either die or become, what she is, and she chose to self-preservation, and it kind of corrupted her along the way, to make her bitter and stuff like that, which is a very, very genuine human emotion. I mean, if you put anybody in that situation, you probably end up with the same results,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that part of what makes her so fascinating is the fact that, like, and it's, again, the Inquisitors are one of my favorite things of the new canon. I love the way that we get, like, we haven't repeated an Inquisitor. We have like 10 now, and all of the ones that like we like get to know and get like a personality from, who aren't just like a bit player who gets killed off, all feel different from each other. Like the main ones being mostly the sisters that we've seen between Rebels and Fallen Order. But like Trilla feels different from Reva, feels different from the Ninth Sister, feels different from Seventh Sister. Like all of them, like they all have these like different stories, and like Rivas is just so heartbreaking, and it's that cycle of violence and that cycle of trauma, where like Vader and Rivas interplay in Episode 5 is incredible, because you see the way that Vader is completely schooled, which I love the flashback because it's clearly meant to, I was once the learner, but now I am the master. Is clearly like that's a thing in his head, like that's Anakin's insecurity messing with him, and when we see Reva try to take her revenge on Vader, I think it's meaningful that like he was feeling so small in that moment because of the way Obi-Wan pulled the wool over his eyes, that he had to humiliate her.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like quite like literally and metaphorically, like plunge the blade in deeper by going, by the way, I've known the entire time who you are and what you were up to. It's because Vader took an L and he needed to feel big again, and because he did that, Reva needed to take it out on someone weaker than her, in Luke and the Lars family. Like it's this cycle of violence and trauma and like needing to like take control back over your life that I think is very, very, very brilliantly explored here.
Now, I listened to your, I think it must have been the episode 5 cast you lot did, Jared, about what you're excited for and nervous for in the finale. And I want to say it was you that brought up about you're nervous about how they're going to handle Luke in the end.
Yeah, I like how they handled Luke. I think that I in a very funny way. Star Wars is pulpy and silly sometimes, and I think it's very funny that in a very pulpy and silly way, the decision we made with Luke was, yeah, he fell and bumped his head and then forgot. Because he's 10.
Yeah.
He's 10. He fell and hit his head. He never actually saw Reva ignite her lightsaber.
I got major Anakin and Grievous vibes.
It is. It's seriously that. That was absolutely George and Dave bending over backwards, snapping themselves in half to make sure that Anakin and Grievous were never in the same room. And it was the same thing here with them bending over backwards to make sure Luke doesn't see a lightsaber, or see Reva using telekinesis or something like that. I like how they handled Luke. It seemed like a lot to balance on one plate, honestly, and I think they handled it really well. I think that this is another example of just a tried and true tradition of Star Wars, one that I'm not super into, but it's there. And it's the fact that Star Wars is really bad at telling you when things are happening in proximity to each other, because the way the episode is framed, it feels like Reva's assault on the Lars homestead is happening concurrently with Vader facing off with Obi-Wan, when in reality, it's probably not happening like that.
Yeah, yeah, but I think that's an editing problem, right?
I mean, I don't even think it's an editing problem. It's the same thing with like how much time passes in Empire Strikes Back. You're gonna get a different answer depending on who you ask. And the canon answer is that it's like over the course of like a couple months or like a month or so. That like that the crew on the Falcon is like going off for that long, and the time moves differently on Dagobah. It's so complicated and overly so. You know, is Revenge of the Sith like 3 months long, or is it a week? It's a week, but you can't tell. You know, so it's just one of those things that like Star Wars just chooses to not tell you how long something is happening for. Which, take it or leave it, it's just one of those funny features of Star Wars that you just gotta learn to love. But I like how they handled the Luke stuff. I really liked another thing, and I brought this up on the review we did for Knights of the Nerd Republic on my channel that'll be out on Sunday. I don't know when this is coming out. That there's always been like the issue where the fact that Owen Beru, Bale, and Brea raised Luke and Leia respectively, and that even though they are descended from Anakin and Padme, their actual parents, the people who raised them, have a lot of credit taken away from them. Yeah. In the name of, well, here's the cool magic family. And I really like how this show managed to straddle here is what the Skywalker family is, does, and means with, you know, but Owen and Beru are raising Luke, and Bale and Brea are raising Leia. Like that beautiful, heartbreaking, you know, Princess Leia Organa, you are da 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 da. Oh. It's so good, and it's made better by the fact that Leia's response is, "Thank you for telling me about my parents. Those are also my parents."
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but my parents are right there.
Like that was really beautiful, and I think it was really meaningful. And I think that again, with the precedent that's been set with like a lot of the, you know, we're gonna frame Luke and Leia as Anakin and Padme's kids, despite the work that the adoptive families did to make them who they are, I think goes a long way.
No, I agree. I definitely agree. I say, jumping back to the Luke bit slightly, I remember watching it for the first time. I've seen it about 2 or 3 times now, I think.
Yeah, same.
And I remember that first time I was like, you've really painted yourself intentionally into this corner where you have to do the Anakin Grievous thing. Like, you didn't need to do this bit. And it wasn't soured on the episode in the slides at that point, because I enjoyed how they actually ended it up. But I remember thinking, like, you really, like, the Anakin and Grievous thing, you had to intentionally do that. In this show, you didn't.
Yeah.
And there was something there, I was just like, oh man, really? And it's like, you know what? I can forgive that just because of that ending. Even though it was dark as hell on my TV and I couldn't see jack shit. You
are not alone. Friend of the show, Michael McCoy, of All Remaining Systems, had the same exact complaint on our show. We recorded it last night. No, and I agree. You know, I was like, do we really have like the real estate here to do to go back to Luke?
It's just tricky thing to do, that whole thing.
Yeah,
they pulled it off just. It's goofy, but it's Star Wars. Star Wars is goofy.
Well, I was very surprised and very impressed by the way they handled it, and they pulled it off, and it was such a perfect end to Reva's story here, that we get the, you know, like we get that conversation, we get Obi-Wan being able to be there for her, and I think again there's a beauty to it that like Obi-Wan Kenobi is this like is a protector. At his core, he is a protector. That is who he is, and that is who he always will be. And seeing him get to kind of protect Reva from herself and be like the first person to be able to give her a little bit of solace and say, hey, it's going to be okay. I think is beautiful. And again, I just want to see her story continue so badly. You know, I have my like big pitch for like what season 2 could be if they decide to do it. That I'm sitting on for when I do the like season review on TNAP. Um, but I really think you could do it, and I really want to see more of Riva so badly. She's such a fascinating character, and I want to see her truly come into her own, and I want to see her reclaim being a Jedi really badly. And I think it'd be great. Most Ingram is incredible. I sincerely, I don't, I like these are one of those moments where it's like, I, the people who like are hating on her, like I
Yeah,
don't know, I
that
don't know what y'all are smoking. I don't like I am struggling to understand any of that opinion. Removing the douchebags from the equation, like who were gonna hate her no matter what for a complexion related reason.
yeah, yeah.
I don't know how you dislike Riva. Like,
Well, no, because she's essentially just Anakin, but she in the show she turns out the way you'd want Anakin to turn out, not the Vader route.
yeah,
Because she has the
absolutely.
same journey. Well, not, yeah, no, Anakin killing the younglings is her, or is Anakin's version of Shmi dying with the Tusken Raiders, right? You know, it's the very similar journey. It's just a more twisted, unfortunate version of that. Because obviously,
Yeah.
you know, when Obi-Wan saves her, that's the version of him saving Anakin. That's how. It's her entire point of being in the show. So it's like,
Yeah,
I don't.
absolutely. And I love that message where she was like, I couldn't continue the cycle of violence. Did I fail to honor the people who were victims to it? No, you honor them by breaking the cycle.
Yeah, yeah,
You know, that's really beautiful. That is really beautiful. And again, you know, there's people who are going to lose their minds because they think that every Star Wars story should play out like a video game and be some kind of psychotic beat 'em up, and they're angry Obi-Wan didn't kill her dead in 30 seconds. But like, that's not who he is. That's not what the story's supposed to be.
no. I always find it funny when the fan fiction gets in the way of what the characters actually are. I said, no,
Absolutely.
it's what I want to see. You know, forget what the character actually is.
Absolutely. Well, like, and you know, yeah, I'm calling you out, Mike. I know you're listening. You know, like, but like that fan art is
That
like
one
people got.
finite.
Well, these are people got angry about this, and this is exactly what Obi-Wan did. No, that's not at all what Obi-Wan did. That is
No,
not at
no.
all what he did. You know, like
He
people
did
who
the
were,
same T pose.
yeah, yeah, he
Sure.
used the yeah, he T-posed and used the Force, sure, but like Obi-Wan becoming a one-man firing squad and just like indiscriminately executing like a room full of stormtroopers, and Obi-Wan pelting Vader with rocks to keep him from like finding out about the kids. You know, those are very different. You know, Obi-Wan Kenobi is a character who on paper you would think is like a very simple character to understand the ethos of, but he's complicated, and he's complicated on very nuanced levels,
Mm.
as is the case with a lot of Star Wars characters. A lot of Star Wars characters, there's a vibe to them that is very easy to comprehend, but like you can really get into the psychology of like almost any major character in Star Wars because there's a lot there. And I would go so far as to say that Star Wars is so sprawling and has been so sprawling for almost 50 years now that like like they feel the most like people because it's been so long of telling all these stories that they have the kind of internal contradictions that real people have. So like again, like Vader, you could have someone who is, you know, cold-blooded, calculating, tactical genius who is just, you know, in the zone the whole time and is just dismantling people with cold, calloused precision, who also comes unglued at the very sight of Obi-Wan Kenobi. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like you
And you
like
can they do that because they tell you that in a very subtle way. Because the entire show he's been using one hand with the saber, right? But that
yeah.
last fight he doubles up.
Yeah, and like, and again, for someone who does a versus series who like love, and Vader's one of my favorite characters. This is my favorite characters, period. But one of my favorite characters to like talk about in a versus setting. Vader's whole loadout as a combatant is very fascinating because he's learned every lesson he could from Anakin Skywalker's defeats. You know,
Mm.
Not to get too in the nitty gritty of like the seven forms of lightsaber combat and all of that stuff, but like Vader's preferred martial art pre-suit, Anakin's preferred martial art was one that was based around counterattack and like a heavy-handed counteroffensive and being a power fighter. And it's interesting in the way that like Vader overhauls his fighting style, where he mostly adopts like Count Dooku's Form 2 Makashi style. Sorry, I have like all my alarms set up still. But he's very much at like Count Dooku, one-handed, European fencing style Makashi that the Dooku uses. But because of his enhancements that were caused by Obi-Wan, he comes down on you like a freight train no matter what. He does not have to give a focused power fighter counteroffensive. He just hits you like a freight train because he's made out of metal and he's 7 feet tall. So when you see him like take his saber by a second hand and goes, "No, I'm here to like straight up overpower you now," you should be afraid. And one of my favorite little things, and I talked to Spencer about this yesterday. He wasn't on the podcast, unfortunately, but we were talking, like Obi-Wan using the pommel of his lightsaber hilt to smash the control panel it's great because he does it so he can non-lethally incapacitate Anakin.
Yeah.
But B, the last place you want to be when you're fighting Darth Vader is within arm's reach of him. And Obi-Wan Kenobi does this, this is so stupid it just might work kind of a strategy where he just gets all up in Vader's stuff and just, again, like a lunatic, starts smashing the control panel with the butt end of his lightsaber. It's such a cool and bold decision from a fight choreography perspective, but as a character, it's, it shows Obi-Wan's ingenuity. It also shows the fact that as much as he said it, he's not prepared to kill Anakin.
Yeah. Even
and he's
now,
not capable of it.
Very evident.
Yeah, and he's not capable of it. And I think that's beautiful. I'm already seeing people starting to have like a, why doesn't Batman kill the Joker kind of conversation about Obi-Wan and Vader. And, sure, like ethically, yes, it would be more responsible of Obi-Wan to have killed Vader now twice. But like, it's about the characters. It's about
human level, right?
It's that human level, and there's something to be said about Obi-Wan refusing to like, I don't say go down to his level, but
no, I get you mean that because he's learned from the mistake. He went into Revenge of the Sith he was told he had to kill Anakin,
and he thought he did.
Yeah, he thought he did, and that literally destroyed this man for the last 9. Is it 9 years this show takes place?
Yeah.
So like the last 9 years, he's been like wallowing in this self-pity and guilt that he's killed his best friend, his brother, and all this. Now he's like, I don't have to kill you.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to kill him to win.
Yeah. Well, and it's
like
also
him not killing him, he gets himself back.
And if he were to accept that this is going to be a only one of us is walking away from this kind of fight, means that like he's accepting Vader's terms.
Yeah.
That this has to be a death match. And, Obi-Wan Kenobi is the kind of person who finds a way, who finds a third option, who finds a way to slither out. And it's just perfect. I love the fact that it's, and again, it's a very small and subtle thing, but, we see across Star Wars, people who have their like in the moment, galvanization where they use the dark side in some way to give them that amp to beat their enemy. Anakin does it to finally kill Count Dooku. Luke does it to beat Vader in Return of the Jedi. Obi-Wan is able to do that with the light side, where his compassion and desire to protect life becomes something that launches him into, I don't even want to say a righteous fury, because it's not even anger from him, but it launches him into like a place of, I am here to protect these children, and by virtue the galaxy at large from you. And he's able to overwhelm him. And like, I do think on some level Obi-Wan did go for the kill when he hits Anakin in the head. I don't
have to be right at some point.
Yeah, because like I don't think I don't think Obi-Wan wants to kill him, but I think he also recognized like I have to do this on some level, and he's not wrong. But that's the moment where he chooses mercy, and it's a mix of mercy and pity, because he sees like just like broken, like, you know, it's like that scene in Deathly Hallows Part 2 where like Force Ghost Harry is talking to Force Ghost Dumbledore, and they see like the shriveled up Voldemort fetus.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and they both go like, this is all you are on the inside, you know, and like that's what you see with Anakin. We're like, look at what you are now. You know, you are reduced to this like dervish killing machine. And he I think Obi-Wan takes pity on him. And I think Obi-Wan knows that the ultimate victory is depriving Vader of this fight, of either killing or being killed by Obi-Wan. And I think Anakin realizes that, and I say Anakin deliberately.
Anakin really, it's Anakin in that fight. It's not Vader.
And
the way he talks, the way he moves, it's all Anakin.
Well, I think it's one of those interesting things where like people try to delineate the difference between Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader, and I think at their core, the difference is like how impetuous is he feeling at that moment. You know, like Anakin is Darth Vader, and Darth Vader is Anakin Skywalker, and they are absolutely two different people. It's really complicated. I don't think one answer is a catch-all. But it's one. These are one of those moments where like they're absolutely one and the same, and Obi-Wan needs to see that, and that what Vader / Anakin says in that moment is him grasping at what he knows is his last vestige of victory. And it is his last chance at, you know what, maybe you outfenced me here today, but look at all of this. This is your fault. And I think it's absolutely possible to glean, you didn't kill Anakin Skywalker, I did, as still being Obi-Wan's fault. You know, I think it's very fascinating. Like there's that, you know, we spent almost like an hour and a half last night when we were recording the review for Knights of the Nerd Republic, just talking about that scene. Not even the fight as a whole, that conversation.
Yeah. Is that out yet?
It'll be out on Sunday.
I've got some Sunday watching.
Yeah, have fun with that. I get super into it because, you know, I'm the resident Vader fanboy, so I just, you know, I started gushing and didn't stop. But yeah, it's really complex. And again, this show could have given us all the fanboy Vader, we could have gotten anime villain Vader, who is infinitely less interesting, but just as fun to watch do cool shit. But, you know, I'm glad we didn't get that. I'm glad we got a reflective, regretful character study of both of these characters and how they're intertwined. Yeah, I've been talking for a very long time and have kind of hijacked your podcast.
That's what you're here for. That's entirely what you're here for.
I appreciate it.
I just I say my mind goes blank. I just sit here and listen. It's just like just keep going. It's totally fine.
It's just so perfect, man. It's so good. It's so good. And it's the thing that I love about this show is that like it is everything that Star Wars is. It is like it is about found family. It is about redemption. It is about processing loss and choosing to continue despite the world around you being cruel. It is about trying to make the world around you less cruel by injecting hope and mercy into it. And there is nostalgia there. Star Wars was built on nostalgia. It was built for the nostalgia for, the old like Saturday morning serials. And then Star Wars unto itself became a nostalgia machine. And there are two directions you can go with that. You can either do, again, I love The Mandalorian, but you can do like a Mandalorian style, we're just going to smash our action figures together type nostalgia.
Which is kind of funny, right? Because this and The Mandalorian are the exact same premise.
It's one of those, like, they're the exact same premise if you want to be like,
No, not necessarily like at the very core, but on a few levels, they're very much built the same.
Oh yeah, I mean, almost every single Star Wars story in the last 5 years has been about like a grizzled old man adopting a child. Like, and it's funny. If I had a nickel every time it happened, I'd have like 15 cents at this point. And it's funny because it happened like three years in a row.
And it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
It works, right?
It's not a bad thing when it works, it works. The Mandalorian, for the most part, and it's also a conversation about like what the word cameo means at this point. Like depending on who you ask, Luke Skywalker makes a cameo in The Mandalorian. Okay, well, no, he was actually kind of integral to the plot.
Yeah, he has a role in that show.
Like, because of surrounding established canon of the universe and of Star Wars as a whole, Deus Luke Machina works and is kind of the only reasonable ending to this story. Ahsoka Tano made a cameo in the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Daredevil made a cameo in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah.
Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are characters in that story.
Yeah.
Like, there's a big difference between like, cameo and all of that stuff. But like, when you make it serve the story, when you make those like big nostalgia moments actually count for something, and The Mandalorian does a lot of that. Here, it feels so much deeper and more personal. Like it.
Would you? Because this is all, it goes in nicely to the whole Qui-Gon Liam Neeson bit.
Oh God.
Because I think that's probably my least favorite part of the entire show.
You need to be aware of the fact that I burst into very real tears both times I've watched this.
I believe that, and it's something I wanted. I just don't think they did it right.
Oh, I think they did it perfectly. In my interpretation of this, and when we recorded the review last night, Lexi told me she thinks I'm dead wrong. And you know what? Sometimes I am. Not often, but sometimes I am. And my interpretation of this, and Qui-Gon kind of helps facilitate it, is that he's been here this whole time. I think that first nightmare we see Obi-Wan have in the cave in the first episode is Qui-Gon warning him of what's to come. A lot of that is to do with the fact that a lot of that footage that Obi-Wan is like that becomes Obi-Wan's dream, he was not present for. He was not present for the space battle above Naboo, and he was not present for the pod race. That is Qui-Gon shaking him and going, "You need to be ready for what's coming," and Obi-Wan not being ready to recognize that was a message, and that Obi-Wan has not had his heart in what he's been doing, and has been so, he's, obviously he's connected to the Force, but he's not being with the Force. If that makes sense at all.
No, I understand. Yeah.
And it's because he's finally like reclaimed his connection to the Force that Qui-Gon is finally able to appear to him, and that it's, and like, again, other stuff in the canon talks about how, like, like even though you're a ghost, it's hard to manifest yourself into the Force in a physical presence. Like there's a lot of weird esoteric like Force magic that goes into the whole Force ghost concept, and that's what Qui-Gon's trying to like warn him, or not warn him about, but is like trying to like, hey, like I'm here and I have been, and you're not alone. And it's seeing like Obi-Wan, it's seeing the gambit Obi-Wan took up by like having faith again be rewarded. Like in
it just it I get all that. It just felt so tacked on right at the end.
I think that's exactly where it belongs, though. I think that's exactly
it does,
where
but
it needs to be.
I agree. It belongs at the end. It makes sense to be at the end. It was just so quick, and it's just like, hey, I'm here, goodbye. It's like, oh.
I mean, goodbye for us, though. It's goodbye to the audience.
Oh yes, yeah.
That's where
I get
credits.
Yeah. I was talking more from an audience perspective, not from Obi-Wan's perspective. I don't know. I think part of me is that I just wanted that little bit more.
I mean,
a little bit
Qui-Gon Jinn is in my top 5 Star Wars characters and is my favorite Jedi of all time. So yeah, me too. I absolutely could have gone for like a 5-minute conversation between Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon.
I think that's what I wanted. It's just give me 5 minutes, not 5 seconds.
But I also really did love this. And again, like for everything that it is and is meant to represent, that it is at its core this, it's his final reward for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Because he's punished for his cynicism. He is punished because he's punishing himself for 10 years over what happened. He's punished when he arrives to Mapuzo and assumes no one is coming for him, and then he like causes this whole mess that is one moment. He causes this whole mess that is the debacle on Mapuzo because he's like, oh damn it, no one's coming. Okay, we got to figure something out. So he bungles that because of his cynicism, and it's when he starts to just aggressively put hope into the universe is when he starts to be rewarded for it. And I think the ultimate reward for like, taking up this like new lease on life that he has is that Qui-Gon's able to finally appear to him. I love that. I love that like that's how he like quote unquote unlocks the ability to commune with his master. I think it's incredibly beautiful. And again, while the greedy fanboy in me wants more Qui-Gon Jinn, and will always want more Qui-Gon Jinn, period. Tales of the Jedi can't get here soon enough.
When is that out?
Next year. This year.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Tales of the Jedi and Andor are happening at the same time.
Oh great! I got 3 things at the same time.
Yeah, but no, I think you can absolutely do more with having Qui-Gon around. But I think they really stick the landing here. I really do. I just think it's a perfect.
I agree. The landing was stuck. I wouldn't change a single thing. Maybe another 5 minutes of Qui-Gon. That's about it for the ending. That's the only thing I think you could do to make it better.
Yeah, and again, I will always want more of.
No, I'm not going to spit in their face and say it was, it doesn't make sense why he just randomly showed up. Like, I absolutely get why he was there, and I completely agree with you. It's just like if it just feels a little like and check.
Yeah.
Check, but we're gonna write why. Like we're gonna use the time to explain why it's suddenly like this and why it's just bang, but it's still just and tick. There we go.
Yeah, but that's another thing that I loved about this finale is that it felt so much not like a bunch of checking a bunch of boxes.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Like because again, in theory, this final episode could have been okay. Fight with Vader, check. Moment with Leia, check. Sees Luke, check. Says hello there, check.
It's one of those like it doesn't feel like a checklist, but it is.
It is.
It does everything everyone could have ever wanted from this show.
Yeah, and you're right. It does function as like a checklist in that way. The thing that I love so much about the decisions that they made is that they do the obvious thing in the most not obvious way.
Yeah, it's all naturally just there.
Yeah,
it's naturally occurring.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know if I'm ready to say that this is my favorite Star War, but
I
it
think
is.
it is hands down.
It's definitely up there. It's like I said, it's hanging out with The Last Jedi as my like top tier.
It's one of those where yes, I'm saying it's definitely there straight away, but it it's one of those. It needs everything else to exist, and everything else that exists is made better because of this show.
Exactly, which is when Star Wars is at its best.
Yeah, it's that Ouroboros, that Infinity Ouroboros of just helping itself, and it just works. They
Yeah,
got
and
it, and it
there's
works.
and to the people who say, "Well, I guess Star Wars is just about Star Wars now," no, it's about a lot of. I think Star Wars is less political allegory like it used to be, and more of like is more about self discovery and understanding oneself these days, and I think that's okay. Um, and
Yeah, that's
that,
definitely a yeah.
like gone are the days where the Rebel Alliance is the Viet Cong. Like we're not there anymore with the way that
But I
Star
feel
Wars
like
tells its
that's the
stories.
movie thing. The movie's the more political side of it. 'Cause I think you obviously still had the political side
Yeah,
in the shows. It's just not
yeah. Well, I mean,
it's
and
not as big.
with all of these stories, when the Empire is involved, the crux of the story is how will this ragtag diverse group of people escape like the evil fascist empire. And obviously we have Andor coming down the pipeline, which is going to be all political intrigue and all politics, period. Which I cannot wait
And
for that reason.
Taika's movie is obviously going to be about politics.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're one of those litmus tests for people who like when they say, "Oh, you made such and such political," what they mean is, "Oh, you put like a not white guy in this story."
It's not my
Because
politics that I agree with, therefore it's bad.
yeah, because Thor Ragnarok is about imperialism, and if you can't see that, you're not reading it. Um,
Yeah. Here's this giant space mural about how I conquered the Nine Realms.
Yeah, but no, it's completely apolitical. Like the way the original trilogy definitely isn't about how America is the bad guy in that story. But suffice it to say, um I think that the Star Wars storytelling model of being more about self-discovery and learning to process grief and trauma is something I think it's a direction that has spawned some of the best storytelling we've seen in a while from Star Wars. Um, and I think this show is absolutely incredible. And I don't need a season two. And I think there's a part of me that thinks
No,
we shouldn't get one.
no,
But I'm
I agree.
greedy.
But fuck it if I want it.
I'm greedy, and god damn it, I want more of this. And like I said, I'm sitting on like my big pitch until we do the review stream, which I
I'm
cannot give a
struggling not to ask what that is about.
I can absolutely tell you off air because I'm saving it for my stream. I put it on Twitter a couple times.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
But I have like a full like galaxy brain, like this is how you bring it all into canon. Um
is that not canon then? That bit?
no, that was
Okay, because I remember
I'm gonna
seeing
tip my
that.
hand a little bit. That flashback is from Star Wars Legacy. So it is definitively not canon.
Okay, so I remember seeing you tweet out about what you're talking about, and I just sat there going like, but it's already been done.
No, nope. That was an old canon or a non-canon Legends comic.
That's all right then. Bring it on. I'm all for it.
Yeah, like I said, I think you can absolutely involve the path with that story. I think that
Yeah.
like I said, I talk about it off air because I'm being selfish. I'm saving it for the stream. But
Now, with a season 2, do you bring back Christensen and Vader?
for mine, you bring back Hayden
Oh.
in not as Vader,
Yeah.
but
You just want that Clone Wars flashback of him in the armor?
I mean, I don't. That's another thing that, like, this fandom just kind of like screeches things out that just kind of don't make sense sometimes. Like the way that people are like, we need Clone Wars flashbacks, and it's like, yeah, if the story requires it.
Yeah.
Like
I'll be honest, I was sitting here begging for one. That's mainly because I just want the Ahsoka, like, Christensen and McGregor all together.
Yeah, and it would have been cool to see those outfits, and it would have been really cool to see, like, like Hayden in like the navy blue and burgundy.
Yeah,
like that would have been so cool.
But obviously,
to see
no, I don't want it if it's detriment to the story. If it doesn't make sense, don't do it.
Exactly, and I think that, but a lot of people, like, they wanted this. They wanted to break the story. They wanted to mold the story into the shape that facilitated all of the things that they individually wanted, and they didn't want things to happen that facilitated the story being better. And
which is always the problem.
It's always the problem, and that was a huge thing with the I want a Clone Wars flashback. I will say, for the sake of like the story I would tell, absolutely you need a Clone Wars flashback. I think they would be integral. I think it would almost be like a Book of Boba Fett type thing, where like it's like a Book of Boba Fett or like an Arrow type thing, where like the flashbacks are not just like to help illuminate the current story. There's a second story being told in the flashback.
Yeah.
That would be integral to the plot of the current day story. But yeah, no, I Hayden would absolutely be back. Nowhere near in the capacity that he was here, and maybe it's only for an episode or two. But you would absolutely need Anakin to tell part of this story that I have in mind.
That's good then. Now, there's only one thing that this show confused me on, and I'm not entirely sure if I've missed something or if it's part of canon or what. When they're on Castle in, or what's that thing called, the Inquisitor's place?
Fortress Inquisitorius.
That's the one. That's a stupid fucking name.
That's a lovely name.
It's so dumb.
It is silly.
It's so Star Wars. I love it and hate it at the same time. Just like, can you be normal for 5 minutes?
Absolutely not.
But when it's normal, I don't like it.
Exactly. Why it would not? It would be zero fun if it was just like if it was Castle Inquisitorius or like.
That's why I've been calling it, right? I've been calling it like Castle Inquisitrix or something like that, and it's I know it's not right.
Castle Inquisitrix is like that. That's a sillier name than Fortress Inquisitorius.
I know, but that's where my brain.
You're upping the ante.
Actually, you know what? No, because Inquisitorius is no. But I think my brain's getting confused with Harry Potter there with Inquisitrix. I'm not entirely sure. I don't know how I work. I've been around long enough that I should, but I don't. And my brain just makes things up.
It's okay, old man. It happens.
Well, that was a bit uncalled for. But anyway, there's the whole thing with that. It's not a thing. It's a tomb with the people in the amber in the basement of that place. Yeah. And I'm confused why it was there. What was the point? I assume it's a setup for something somewhere down the line, if it's not already a thing in canon.
It is not already a thing in canon. Here's my take on the Jedi tomb.
Is it just a trophy room? No.
I think it is in part a trophy room. I think it's part of Palpatine's contingency plan, so that they have some dead Force sensitive tissue to work with on figuring out the whole cloning thing. And I think that it is another grisly reminder of the way that the Inquisitors are forced to destroy themselves as much as they're destroying their former Jedi comrades. I think there is something very horrific about, making sure all of them know what they've done. I think it's a lot of that
constant reminder.
I think that it is something. I think it's something that was definitely put there as a means of, again, that, like you said, that constant reminder to make sure that they are at all times omnipresent in how much life they've taken. And I think that despair adds to their ability to tap into the dark side, and that I think there's also a practical use for it for Palpatine as well.
That's fair. It's just one of those things where, it's just this plot point that I say plot point. It's just a thing that happens. I'm like, cool, where are we gonna go with this? And then it never goes anywhere with it. And it's just like, oh. And it's like, oh, it's a good thing I got Jared coming on, because I don't know if it is canon or not. If anyone's gonna know, Jared's my Star Wars guy. And it's like, I'm gonna go to Jared.
I appreciate that. I appreciate being your Star Wars guy, but no, there's not a precedent for the horrifying Jedi tomb on Nur.
Well, I hope they pick that up at some point.
I do too, because that is really dark and fucked up.
Because that could be an interesting season 2 point.
I mean, yeah, it could be. It could be. Man, there's a lot to unpack there. But yeah, I mean, there's rumors of there being like a Reva show. So if that comes to pass, I'm sure the Jedi tomb is going.
I'd be all down for a Reva show.
Yeah, I think the thing that's so interesting about the Reva, like the concept of a Reva show, is when the rumors started floating around, like a week or two ago, I was like, oh, cool. So this is going to be an Inquisitor show, and Reva's going to be the main character. Cool. And now it's almost certainly going to be about Reva becoming part of the Path.
Yeah.
Which, again, it's one of those, how Legends never decided, to my knowledge, that I can think of, to do an underground railroad for the Jedi.
No, because it seems like a real low-hanging fruit idea, right? Obviously not in a bad way. It's a good idea.
It's right there. It's right fucking there. We got to the point where we had Palpatine's son with a third eye that shot a laser out of it in Legend. But we never did an underground railroad for the Jedi. It's such a right there story decision. And there were books about the Jedi establishing little enclaves of trying to move around the place. But there was never the path, Yeah. How that never came up and was never used to its fullest extent will permanently boggle my mind. But I love the concept, and I really hope we see more of it. And if I were a betting man, I'd say that we see either Reva or Roken in Jedi Survivor.
Which one was Roken?
Ice Cube Jr.
Yes. Yeah.
Ice Cube Jr. with a friggin' Wookiee bowcaster.
I mean, I didn't even consider that. That could be a thing for the game, right? Because it's set in the same time period.
They happen in the same year.
And yeah, I'm convinced we're going to see that in that game.
Obi-Wan Kenobi and Jedi Survivor happened the same year. And I think it would be really funny for Cal to show up, maybe 6 months after this whole debacle with Obi-Wan, for Roken to be like, oh, you broke into Fortress Inquisitorius, really could have used you a little while ago. This is some vital information, and I'm a little annoyed that you just got here, but oh well. R.I.P. Wade. But I'm
convinced that's going to be a payoff in the game.
Yeah. Hey, and that's what Kathleen Kennedy said. She said the games are going to become part of the storytelling. I mean, more than they already are. Jedi Fallen Order is one of my favorite Star Wars stories, period, especially in the new canon. But it does kind of stand on its own in many ways. And I think that, plus there's the rumor about the Cal Kestis show. I replay it once a year since it came out.
I need to really go back, because I remember liking it, but Cal was a real tough sell for me.
I love him.
I love Red Cal. Jedi, default blank is ugh.
No. I think you'd be right if you set Cal during the Clone Wars. But the fact that he grew up in the time of the Order being wiped out is what absolutely sells him as a character.
But I don't know. I found him very too blank slatey for me.
Oh, I big disagree, but okay.
So that's what I'm saying. I had no reason for years to go back and play, but it's you know what, dude? What better time when the next one's coming out, right? Catch up and everything. No.
Could not agree.
Because I enjoyed the game. The combat was a bit. I wasn't a fan of the parry.
Yeah. I mean, it took me a while to get the hang of it.
It was too Dark Soulsy for me, and I'm too old for that.
I mean, I get that. For me, I really enjoyed it just because lightsaber combat is my jam. And I really like the fact that you can play it really differently than other people. Like I played very aggressively. Like I did not have to parry very often because I was killing people too quickly.
All right.
Yeah,
Good at the game.
I'm good at the game, or maybe a little too aggressive for my own good. We'll see. We'll compare my KD ratio to other players. We'll see if I'm that good, or I just, take a Anakin Skywalker approach to Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, that would surprise me. But
Yeah.
right, that's an hour and 20 minutes on the Kenobi finale. Of just pure Jared, and I love it.
Yeah, it's perfect Star Wars. It is what Star Wars is meant to be.
Is. I agree. I totally agree. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed this. If not, oh well, it's unfortunate. Nothing I can redo. Nothing you can get on with your day.
Yeah.
But I thank you for the engagement. That's what it's all about. That's what this game is. If you didn't like it, tell me why, please.
Likes and clicks, likes and clicks, clicks
make
and
sure,
likes.
Make sure every comment is a paragraph for why you didn't enjoy listening to this. I would really appreciate
Everybody respond in like a 5-paragraph essay with MLA citations in response to the fact that my favorite Star Wars movie is The Last Jedi.
Please, yes.
Actually, here's something for y'all to respond to. Here's my rankings for the movies. If you really need engagement, in last place, the Clone Wars movie, Attack of the Clones, Rise of Skywalker, Rogue One, Solo, A New Hope, Force Awakens, Empire, Revenge of the Sith are tied. The Phantom Menace, Return of the Jedi, The Last Jedi. So, like, feel free to write an essay about why you don't like my rankings.
Your ranking stuff, like, it goes so well, and then you just put a prequel next to Empire, and it hurts me inside.
Well, I mean, I love them both on like the same level. Like it's the bad guys one story. I like it. I love them both. I can admit that Empire's a better movie, but like one just like they both work so well on the same level for me.
It just I'll have to think about that one.
Oh, if CBC eventually does a ranking the Star Wars universe the way they've done the ranking the MCU, I'm inviting myself on that.
I'd like to do that. I really don't.
I'm inviting myself on that so that I can hold court and defend the Phantom Menace. I will be bringing in my secret tag team partner, Scotty J. Rowe. It will be
that's drop a nuke on everyone. God.
That is our like Last Jedi throne room scene.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, I'm Rey. Scotty's Kylo Ren in that situation.
That surprises me, to be fair. I can see it.
I just thought it'd be a fun inversion because I'm a Kylo guy. Tattoo and everything. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I love coming on here. It's always a pleasure.
You are always more than welcome. If you ever want to invite yourself on, that's fine.
No, like I said, I'm doing that. Make sure he knows, and I will tell him my damn self if y'all do a ranking whatever and it's Star Wars.
I mean, in fairness,
I'm coming.
Gonna need some kind of content after the MCU one's done. Not that's ever gonna be done at this rate because it's a living organism at this point. But
yeah, I mean, you just gotta wait for more stuff to bank up so that you can be like, all right, now we're gonna rank this batch of content.
That's true.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Star Wars, but there's not that much Star Wars.
Yeah. Star Wars is one of those.
Unless you rank the Clone Wars seasons individually, which
I don't think you can fairly do unless you actually go back and watch all of Clone Wars, which is a lot.
Oh, I have seen all of Clone Wars, and those first 3 seasons are a slog.
I mean, I agree with like the first season and a half. I don't think the back half of 2 and all of 3 is that bad.
It starts to get there's a gradual getting better with it, but it's
that's the thing with Clone Wars is like I was in the 4th grade when Clone Wars came out. You know, like I was 10, 11 ballpark when that released, and it really aged with its audience.
Oh yeah, you can see that.
It came out for exactly the age I was.
Yeah.
You know, and it was so fascinating the way that like every season was a little more mature than the last, and I don't know. I
think that could be part of why I'm not a fan of the first half, because I only watched the Clone Wars 2020, I think, or whenever it came out on Disney Plus.
Yeah, well, that's absolutely probably why. That's absolutely part of it. You know, that it wasn't like a formative thing for you. You know, I was one of those kids who was in the second dark times, and it was like, okay, like no more Star Wars anymore. You know, just the books and comics and games, which are good, but like I'd like to watch things. And then it's like, oh, cool, we get this TV show. And the TV show I think was designed to do what it did.
That's probably why. Because that season 7, that season 7 is so good.
Plus Comrade Maul.
Yeah.
Talking about, justice is a system of people who are in power, and I'm like, yeah. I didn't know. I knew Maul was red, but I didn't know he was red. You know, like
he's secretly red and yellow underneath the black.
Yeah. He and Savage, you know.
I mean,
there's your red and yellow.
I forgot Savage. Yeah.
I hate Savage Opress. That's one of my favorite episodes of Clone Wars is watching him get bodied. I laugh every time.
He was dumb.
I can't stand Savage. Great character. Like he's written that fantastic way on purpose. Yeah. He's like great character. I just don't like him.
Yeah. Let us know what you think of Savage Press as I end this for the second time. Now the hour and 20. I say hour and 27. I think I gave it a minute or two for Skype to record. So
yeah,
you got an hour and 25. It's what it is. But yeah, we'll be back for Miss Marvel. I assume hopefully it'll be before the next episode's out, because me and Sean are going to record that on Monday, because this went on for as long as it did and Sean's busy. So thanks for joining, everyone, and thank you again, Jared, for saying yes to all 3 times that I gave you this week.
Yeah, I woke up a little disoriented and forgot how to tell time, and I was like, oh no, I slept in, and I'm like, no, you didn't. You're asking for a delay, and I'm like, oh god, no, wait, no. I confused myself.
Because Sean goes to me, he's like, can we do Thursday? So no, I can't do Thursday. Sorry. He's like, well, can we do 7:30, like his time, on Friday? I was like, yeah, that's fine. That's only half an hour before. Forgetting we go at 9 for him. So there's me going to you. Can you do it half hour earlier? Cool. And it's like, oh, now it's not half hour early. It's an hour and a half earlier.
Yeah. And then I confused myself when I woke up this morning. But...
So yeah. Thanks everyone for watching again, and bye-bye.